Good evening. Welcome to the 5-8, where we discuss each of the week's 5 most fucked up topics for 8 minutes. 5 topics, 8 minutes to host a guest, some singing, a lot of curse words, and as many cocktails as we deem necessary. LB, how are you?
I'm good. I'm having water.
Okay. Nothing wrong with some water.
I'm just, it was a week and then it ended in an afternoon and then it got more frustrating. And so I'm here. I don't think I have a vent or a rant, but I don't know. It might come out of me.
I hope so.
I might not be able to control it. How are you doing?
I'm okay.
Yeah.
I have a new drink that I'm having, a highball, and that, for a good time, make it Centauri time. Remember?
Pretty
Lost in
good. Yeah,
Translation?
I love Bill Murray. I love the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love a highball. That's my mom. My mom is always like, I'm having a highball.
Yeah.
Sometimes we don't have the energy to make a Manhattan. You have a highball.
Right. Yeah.
It's
Have
a
a
low
highball.
energy.
It's a little less, alcohol-y also.
It's a little less
I have to keep my wits about me today, I think.
Maybe.
Mhm.
Maybe I'll just have another sip of my water. The other thing that frustrated me today, and I'm going to share something with everybody a little bit, is, I'm doing my bike riding. I'm in the mountains, this High Peaks area, which is beautiful. We took our bikes in to get them serviced, to get them cleaned up, because I'd forgotten how to do all of that. I need to remind myself. And it came back worse. So we're on the ride. None of the gears are shifting. Nothing's working. I'm just petering around, but I made lemonade out of those lemons, as we'll see.
That's good. As we're going to see. We're going to see.
A little bit.
Yeah. A little pink lemonade out of the pink.
Yeah. I was like, fuck.
Yeah.
But I feel like that was kind of the week, like gears not working. It wasn't gears coming off. It wasn't things flying out of control. I just feel like this week stuff got a little bit stuck.
Yeah. Wasn't there like a sonic boom or something yesterday that's going to mess things up or something like that? I don't know. Well, we'll talk about this later too. Yesterday, I'm at work and it's like mid-afternoon, and I realized that the Apprentice movie's coming out, and I'm like, oh, it's coming out today, and I'm like, it's probably streaming or whatever, and I look and it's playing like at the movie theater 3 miles away, 20 minutes after I leave work, and I'm like, all right, gotta go. So I saw The Apprentice, which I recommend everybody. It was very, very good. Well, I'm going to talk about that later on.
We're going to get to it.
There is, I think, thematically a little bit stuff that goes on, because what The Apprentice is about is the relationship between Donald Trump and Roy Cohn. That's the whole movie. Is that that's the whole thing. And there's a lot of Roy Cohn shit that we're going to talk about in these topics. I realized taking my notes. So
yeah, he was sort of the master of the trade. Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right.
He was.
Well, I'm going to get anything else you want to share before we put this clock on?
No, my cat was in here and then he left. So now my door is slightly open, right. But I've got nothing to share. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we got plenty to discuss. So I'm going to set the timer. 8 minutes. What is this first topic, Greg Olear? Suppression of truth.
It's suppression of truth. So, it's all about Elon Musk and Twitter, and basically it came out that he is using Twitter to just sort of, de-amplify anything that Trump doesn't like. And it's not like he doesn't know what Trump doesn't like, because not only is he giving lots and lots of money to the Trump campaign,
correct,
he is like working in Congress or in coordination, or let's just say the word collusion with the Trump campaign. They're colluding, and they're not supposed to be colluding.
No, it's actually illegal to collude if you're running a super PAC and you're jumping on stage at a rally and saying, I'm for Trump. You can't do that.
Yeah, you can't be doing that. And setting up shop in Pennsylvania. I can't, I don't live in Pennsylvania. I really like the cities there. I loved Pittsburgh, as you know. I love Philadelphia.
Yes.
I think that if you were trying to convince me to vote for Trump, the last person I would be convinced by is Elon Musk. Like, I have nothing to do with that guy. He's the opposite of that. But the point of the suppression here, and I think the idea of this topic is that the truth isn't getting out. The truth about stuff that's happening isn't getting out, and that's
our own objective recall and experiences
yeah.
aren't being of things that actually happened that we lived through and witnessed
Mm-hmm.
are as being, matriculated away
Yeah.
somehow, some way. But
Yeah.
yeah, here we are in this era where, Dan Goldman, God bless him, posted out on the X, on the platform. It's like, okay, so are we going to have congressional hearings about the fact that Elon Musk is actively suppressing information on Twitter? Where is Matt Taibbi?
Oh.
Where are they? What
Mm.
about the X-Files? Is it because we can't call it that because it was a TV show called that? What's happening? Why was there all of this investigation? Oh my God, you can't believe it. They coordinated the suppressed information with the former people who own the Twitter. Thank God Elon bought the platform because this is now he can make sure free speech. We're going to release it all. Lo and behold, he's doing exactly this thing. So for me, it just is. I know there's a lot of people talking about the hypocrisy, a lot of people who talk about all of these things that keep getting talked about in terms of projection, and would they accuse the other of what you are doing? Got the famous Goebbels quote of how you get away with stuff, right? Just accuse the other of it. But then I saw this semantic, and we'll get to this in the next one, of somebody saying, this is sort of self-loathing. Like they hate what they are and what they're doing. Their expression of hatred, it starts right when you peel it back. They're doing the thing that they say that they hate.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're doing it.
Yeah, because Musk is, for me, this is also kind of a free speech issue. They're so great. They're so the indignant about their free speech rights, right? Oh, we have to be champion. We have to let Cat Turd back on the platform because free speech. Oh my God, uh, the intellectual, legacy of this time might cease to exist if Cat Turd is denied a tweet or whatever.
Yeah.
And yet, when it's something that's completely above board and it just makes Trump look bad, which, by the way, if you're going to throttle tweets that make Trump look bad, you might start with throttling Trump's own account, because he's done a pretty good job himself of making himself look bad. But it is hypocrisy, and it's bullshit. It's not even, they know it's hypocrisy, and the kind of, the outrage that we're supposed to, we're supposed to be outraged about the hypocrisy, but it's really just, they're manipulating the platforms, and they're colluding, and they're breaking the fucking law is what they're doing.
Yeah.
And, I don't know what we're going to do about that. Now,
I don't know. There's nobody to hold these people. I mean, we can say, oh, there's plenty of holding them to account. And yeah, well, he's still running for president.
yeah. And,
It's probably, got a chance of getting in there. I don't know how probable it is, but.
Now, the other thing is that this ties into their war on expertise. I was thinking about this because Kevin Roberts, who wrote the Project 2025 mandate for Leadership Forward, the head of the Heritage Foundation, he has this whole thing about how, eggheads and these experts, and, they're bad, and we just need common sense. And JD Vance said something similar at the debate. We don't need PhDs. We need common sense. Okay, well, when you're going to have surgery, do you still want common sense, or do you want somebody that knows how to do the surgery, that went to school for it and practiced it? There are times when we need experts, like a lot, and we're blessed that we have them, because we're at the intellectual apex of all human knowledge right now, right this second. Or we were until AI came along. Anyway, but and these guys want to poo-poo that. They want to shut it down. And I feel like that's part of this too. The denial, suppressing the truth is also suppressing the experts, who know the truth, which is, in any sort of fascist regime, the first people that they, do away with.
First people they go for. Yeah. So gaslighting.
Mm-hmm.
Go after the experts, right?
Yeah.
Always get the women out, because they're going to, we're going to go, wait a minute.
Yeah.
So the war on, it's in concert with the war on women. That's very intentional. You can't have this fascistic, takeover, the toppling of democracy, if women are empowered. It's just impossible. You can't have both those things together. So there is some strategery here. I don't know how bungling it is. It does feel like to have this kind of, you have the big outlets, the big media outlets, the trusted ones who are supposed to be there. And by the way, I think was it Biden? I believe it was Biden recently. My mom was telling me, I didn't see this, that or maybe it was Obama, but somebody was in front of journalists and they were saying, well, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do? And it's like, you're supposed to do this.
Yeah.
So you're supposed to vet. You're supposed to investigate. You're supposed to hold a power to account. You're supposed to call a lie a lie. You're the umpire on the field. Why are you sitting back just eating a hot dog, pretending you're just another thing in the stand, another person in the stands? We want a fair game.
Yeah.
We want a fair game. Let the best team win. But there's a set of rules. Let's have the set of rules. Somebody's got to be calling the balls and the strikes. And that used to be, when it came to a presidential campaign, that's what we relied on journalists and the media to do. And they're in concert with this denial.
Yeah.
There's too much. It's like, what was that quote we were talking about in our production meeting that you brought up? I can't remember.
Which one?
Once is.
Oh, it's the Ian Fleming quote.
Yes.
Once is coincidence. Second is happenstance. Third time is enemy action.
Enemy action.
Yeah.
So it just can't be that all these ducks are lining up in a row, in this sort of very what do I want to say? It's a playbook, and everything is getting checked off on the playbook in the order that it needs to get checked off in order for democracy to be pushed off the cliff, right?
Yeah.
So what we getting as a response to that is our second topic, because we kind of wanted to single out, okay, all right, here's what we keep hearing. You've got your vote, right? Don't boo vote. We listened to Obama last night. All right, so that's something that we have to fight back against this. The other thing that I think we all believe we have, at least you and I, or we wouldn't spend every Friday night here together. And I think a lot of, the good journalism that's happening out there, and also just having that freedom of speech, having that right to freedom of speech, is being able to understand the power of words, right? That we all should be free to call out the powers that be, right? So there's some good, I think, when you have so much gaslighting, so much denial, such a concert of people together pushing that agenda on the American people, like making us choke on it so that they can get they don't have to pay taxes again. So much of it is just that, they just hate paying taxes. There's no economy that a Republican ran that was like the economy that they should have. They just, rich people don't want to pay taxes, and Republicans promise them that and deliver on that. Trump delivered on that. So one thing, he delivered on that, and the judges. And so they want it. They want more of that. More of never paying taxes ever again. All right. So we have these sort of, with all of that coming down on us and raining on us and telling us to objectively turn away from reality, right? And just buy alternative facts, buy into this whole set of garbage. I have noticed folks are kind of stepping up the game.
Yep.
So we had that semantic that I talked about right off the top of, it was just a framing of this person on Twitter. I can't remember who I read it from. I'll find it. I think I retweeted it. They're literally accusing everyone. It's not just, I'm going to accuse you of the thing that I'm doing. It's, I hate you for doing that thing. And that's an expression of self-loathing.
Yeah.
Like, maybe that's where hate begins. Maybe that's where it begins. And so what we're really looking at is people who are racked by how much they loathe themselves, that at some point they bought into a self-hating mantra in their brain, and they came out on the other end a Trumper. You know? They grew up until they found somebody that said, "Yeah, here's what we're gonna do with all our hate." So I thought that was a really good frame. There's some other good ones that have come out. I didn't write them down ahead of time, but we talked about them in the production meeting.
I have one I want to add real quick, because we talked
Yeah.
about this. This is Charlie Warzel wrote this in the Atlantic, and this is just talking about the word misinformation. So
Yes.
this is a nice quote. What is clear is that a new framework is needed to describe this fracturing. Misinformation is too technical, too freighted, and after almost a decade of Trump, too political.
Mm.
Nor does it explain what is really happening, which is nothing less than a cultural assault on any person or institution that operates in reality. If you are a weather person, you're a target. The same goes for journalists, election workers, scientists, doctors, and first responders. These jobs are different, but the thing they share is that they all must attend to and describe the world as it is. This makes them dangerous to people who cannot abide by the agonizing constraints of reality, as well as those who have financial and political interests in keeping up the charade. So,
Well said. Yeah.
yeah.
Obama had another one too. Had another, and it felt kind of almost spontaneous, but I think he had worked on it. Last night when he was speaking, he said, "When did this become okay?"
Yeah.
So again, it's finding a way to talk about these things so that it just cuts through the crap, cuts through the gaslighting, cuts through the fog, cuts through the whole thing, makes it all crystal clear what we're all looking at. It's like, when did it become okay to call fellow citizens vermin? That's the question. Why is that okay? So we've got to get underneath these things and puncture so we can, you know, keep it, because it's just, it feels like it's just sort of washing over everybody of like, oh, right. But it is our words that can just pop it, and finding those words to just pop that zit and say, nope, that's a zit. I think is helpful. So where we see them, where we see the framing, where we see the semantics, I think we have to, I think that is part of the fight. Is your vote, is galvanizing the vote, getting more people out to vote, taking a friend with you to vote, checking your registration to vote, make sure that you've got that vote, that's your power. And also pay attention right now to the folks. And if you have some of your own, that are finding the words and the frames to cut through the bullshit.
Yeah.
And spread that. Spread that wherever you can. It's important.
Yep. Yep. Our guest knows a thing or two about that.
Yes,
So
he
it's going to
does.
be
Yes,
exciting to get
he
to him.
does. He does.
One more thing. The Apprentice movie, which, as I said, is about Roy Cohn and Donald Trump relationship. All of this shit is Roy Cohn shit, right? The denying of reality, Roy Cohn stuff. Attack, Roy Cohn stuff. Trump learned all of this stuff from Roy Cohn, and probably, it was in his genes, as he says in the movie, but it's also Roy Cohn, and this is what that, exponentially, on steroids or whatever looks like. This is the world that we live. We're living in a Roy Cohn world right now, and it's not good.
God.
It's not good.
It's not good. But in every way accurate, an accurate way to talk about it. Okay.
One more quick thing.
Yeah.
Trump today used the word rape in his speech.
The offensive bullshit strike. He's
the
trying to
offensive
get out in
bullshit
front of it.
strike.
Yeah.
And hold on, I want to read the exact quote so I don't get it wrong. He said, "We allowed them to come in and raid." I think he was trying to say raid and rape, and he hit the P like that. Our country. Oh, he used the word rape. That's right. I used the word rape. They raped our country, he said. And not to spoil too much about the movie, but I think I might know why rape is on his brain this week. So Yeah, that's all. He's at that stage. A rapist, an adjudicated rapist, is on stage accusing other people, phantom people, people that are not real, of rape. That's where we're at. It's a Roy Cohn world.
It's a Roy Cohn world.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. You want to move on to
the media? This is nice. We have a treat now.
We have a little treat. So I'll explain a little bit. We might have a volume. Did we get that volume fixed?
I think so.
Yeah.
I hope so.
So I went ahead and filmed my bike ride today because it's glorious. It's so beautiful where I live. And I live in this area it's the High Peaks area. We're in one of the largest state parks that there is, and it's all protected. So what that has happened as in a lot of places along the East Coast is states have gone in and municipalities have ripped up the old railroad tracks that were no longer being used and put in trails for people to ride their bikes and walk and run and do all these and enjoy the beauty. So our rail trail connects the three lakes in the Tri-Lake area of the High Peaks. So that's Lake Placid, Saranac Lake, and Tupper Lake. And it's all protected wetlands. So I thought I would share a little bit because it's just like, it takes your breath away. When I say I see eagles soaring, I mean it. It's just an amazing part of New York. And we really don't want a lot of people knowing about it, but here I am talking about it on YouTube.
All right. Let's see it. Let's see it.
So here it is. I just thought this was nice. This is me riding my bike, holding the camera up.
Yeah. Shitty gears and all.
Oh, my gears did not shit. It was unreal. Yeah, that's just what just everywhere. Hundreds of miles. So the music you're listening to, I was trying to find music to put to this. And that was royalty free, because we have to worry about that. And I was on my husband's computer because my computer wasn't working. And I found some files that I hadn't heard. His parents were musicians. His father was a violinist professionally. And this is his dad just rehearsing in his room. He would record his own.
Oh my God.
Playing
so
in his room, probably before a concert. So I think Steven said, I found those in the trash bin when we were, after his dad died and he pulled them out.
Wow.
Isn't it beautiful?
Yeah, your trees are starting to turn already.
We get it early because we're way up in the mountains. So it's colder up here. We're close to Canada, very close to Canada. And they turn earlier than you. Just a little respite, everybody.
Yeah, my wife would call this sorbet. It's like a palate cleanser, but she's like, I need some sorbet. Like if we watch some really horrible movie or something, we need to watch like something funny.
You need to watch some sea puppies.
Yeah. Need some sorbet.
I need some sorbet.
So this is great. Thank you for sharing this because it's wonderful stuff.
You're so welcome.
Wonderful stuff.
There, little treat. Little break of the monotony.
Yeah. Because I don't feel very funny lately,
It's okay. Yeah.
It's all right.
It was a perfect day to grab all that footage. So
it was. Okay. So it's time to bring out our guest who needs no introduction. He is the host of the Tony Michaels podcast. He is the Rush Limbaugh of the left. Our friend Tony Michaels. Welcome back.
How are you?
How's it going?
Good to see you. I'm doing wonderful. I have a few notes here. First thing is fuck Roy Cohn. That's first off. And you said sorbet, so that you had the sorbet, but now we're gonna do the bong hit. I'm the bong hit. So
okay.
Make sure that,
well, it's late night. Now we're getting into the later hours.
Right. You guys drink, some people are home smoking. Especially if my audience is in the chat, they're definitely out there smoking.
Hi,
I see you.
Audience.
I see you. It's great. I'm glad to see. I do have some notes here from the first two topics, but I'll let you guys direct it here. It's not my show, so I'll let you run it.
We like to hear the first two topics. I did.
Oh, okay.
I did, but I did plan. So let me see if I can get this to work. It probably won't work because that's
Greg's figuring out StreamYard after
every time I go on your show. I learn a little bit about StreamYard. I don't know if you saw this.
Why do you learn about StreamYard on my show? Oh, but the way that I do it?
Yeah, I can. Oh, I'm like, he can do that. I wonder, that's cool. I want to learn how to do that.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so did you see this picture of Kamala Harris, right?
I did. I did see it. Mm-hmm.
So it's great. She looks fantastic. Impeccably dressed. I love the color behind her. It's definitely an anti Melania thing. Right, it comes out like the week that Melania's book comes out. Because remember, Melania didn't get to go
totally a strike at her. Mm-hmm.
But okay, this is what I realized. I wanted to show you this. Okay, here we go. What do you notice here?
That she has.
Look at how big her hands are.
Oh, so this isn't really a strike against Melania. This is a strike against Tiny Hands.
Anti-Trump. This is
Tiny Hands McGee is going to be pissed off. I see what you're doing.
That's right.
I see what you're doing there.
That's all. I just observed that because LB.
Well, I mean, you want a leader that has strong hands, right? You don't want them to have weak, tiny little. Feeble hands.
Exactly. And it's like, I just. I love everything about it. So I wanted to show that to you. So
I like her American flag pin too. That probably really pisses him off too.
Yeah,
that she has American flag pin.
Everything about her is perfection. I love it.
I have to say that I was one of the first ones to see the tweet from Joe Biden. I don't know how it happened, but I had my phone open at that moment. It was at the top of my feed. I think it had been viewed less than 400 times when I opened it. And immediately I started screenshot and started to send it because I knew that, obviously it was going to be news within minutes. And I was thinking, oh my God, he did this on Twitter, which was brilliant.
Yes.
That he would do that on Twitter because, that's what Trump would do is do it on Twitter. So I thought it was brilliant that he did it. But the way he landed that plane to make sure that she was the one that took that mantle, which she should have. Obviously, there was no way for them to skip over Joe Biden to drop out and skip over her. There was no way for that to work. They were going to really piss off the Democratic base if they did that. Because she was one of the reasons why Joe Biden won in 2020.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But I think I think the landing of the plane for the Democratic Party, for the DNC, and up to this point, and the switch from Joe Biden's campaign to the Harris campaign, and then adding Tim Walz has been just, I mean, I guess you could say balls to the walls, but it's been a masterclass in what American politics should be. And what I mean by that is that it gives a good sense to America that we can reduce the size of the length and the overall months and days of a political campaign. We could reduce that. It could be reduced. Now the strategists out there make gobs of money running these campaigns are going to be pissed off that I would say something like that, but it is possible.
So much money in the ads that I don't know that there's so much money in the media around the presidential campaigns.
Yeah, Citizens United pretty much sucks
around political campaigns. That I don't think we have
not a fighting chance on that.
Hell,
but it is a good idea. We do have now we do have an example in American politics where this is possible.
I love it. I love it. I think it's a great idea. Okay, so you have notes. So what are your notes?
I have a couple notes here. Okay, so you guys said that Greg, you have a highball, and LB, you got water. I've got my water. But if I were to drink, I prefer Jägermeister and White Russians, believe it or not. The Russians and the Germans.
That's a weird combination.
I love Jägermeister. Just straight Jägermeister, and I love White Russians. You said something about confession. And the way I always say it for Elon Musk, and I'm going to get into this, obsession is always a confession, whatever they're obsessed with, right? Because Elon's obsessed with freedom of speech and freedom of speech and freedom of speech, and on and on it goes. And their obsession is always their confession, because Elon's Twitter lies, especially this week, it's kind of been laid bare here. Not only just because he's been known to suppress stories that are anti-Trump, it's obvious he is pushing stories that are pro-Trump and anti-government and anti-our government and anti-our Constitution. I want to put a word into the vocabulary here: sedition. I believe that what is happening is sedition. It is not protected speech. We as a country need to stop using the word free speech, because there is no free speech. It always costs you something. There are consequences for any speech that you may utter. And it doesn't matter if it's protected or not. Even if it's protected speech, there's still consequences to your speech. Even if the government can't come after you, even if it's not illegal, it is not free. You will pay a price for your speech. Sometimes you get money. Sometimes you spend it, if you want to put it in monetary terms. So we need to start using the word protected speech with the word sedition. And the reason why is because protected speech would give you this idea that the government is going to protect you as a citizen and your right to have that speech without the consequence of the government coming against you. But in this case, with these storms, and really more sidious or seditious, as maybe the legal term may be, is that Elon Musk's aim to help Donald Trump with Twitter seems to be that he might just have an interest in making sure that Donald Trump somehow, in some way, undermines our Department of Justice and the FBI. Tucker Carlson did an interview with Elon Musk just several days ago. And in an off-camera moment when they were getting set up, Tucker Carlson, they're yucking up. Ha, 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 we're a bunch of knuckleheads. Ha, 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 ha. And Tucker Carlson looked at Elon Musk and said, dude, if Donald Trump loses, you're fucked. And Elon Musk agrees, like, yeah, I'm totally am. And, they kind of went on this laughing tirade. But you could tell in the moment that the laughs and the giggles, it wasn't joking. It was a defense mechanism. And the defense mechanism was, yes, it is the truth. I am totally screwed. So I don't know why Elon Musk would be scared of Trump losing. I'm not really sure. I don't know if it has to do with another thing they talked about in the interview, the Epstein client list. I don't know if it has to do with the super PAC that Elon Musk is clearly running. He seized a Twitter handle at America, and they're handing out $47 in cash to people who will refer other people to sign a petition. They're always accusing Democrats of buying votes, but they're like taking pictures with people with cash in hand and handing them the cash. It's really weird and seems kind of illegal. So we need to start getting our language right. And the sedition is important.
Okay. Just on that, and then I want to hear about the sedition. I just thought occurred to me, there was a gathering of people that helped him purchase the platform.
Correct.
He didn't really use his own money.
Yeah, because he didn't actually have that kind of money, but yeah.
So I wonder what that transaction entailed.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, isn't it?
Yeah, really, truly entailed. And I do think that there is needed. And right now, a journalist could get on this beat, but a journalistic investigation into what Americans, especially like fund managers or business managers that maybe had people that they were gathering together that were clients to invest in Elon's taking of Twitter. We got that little bleep came out about Sean Combs.
You mean Diddy? You mean Diddy, the guy?
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure we're on the same page.
So that doesn't, it's not like Sean Combs knows that, like, there's always a money manager. I do think that's a worthy, not that any of it was illegal, unless there was also oligarch money that was sanctioned oligarchs that snuck its way in. through a money
Oh, for sure.
manager.
I would say that there is definitely
they're
dark money.
American citizens just because they're the sons of Russians on the sanctions list.
Yeah.
That means nothing.
So what American money men or women organize that? That hasn't come out yet. And I think that's worth a lot of looking into, in my opinion.
It is. I'll tell you something else too.
You don't end up with a celebrity invested in a thing like that.
Well, I mean,
without there being a money man that manages that celebrity,
right,
making it happen for him,
he's
recommending
just gonna hose him down with money.
Yeah,
he's just gonna hose him down.
Right.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So, okay, for sedition.
Well, so to another thought on Twitter, especially to the sedition part, because as you guys mentioned, Super PAC cannot coordinate with a campaign, but oh boy, there seems to be a direct coordination because in the article that Greg had brought up, I think it was Daily Beast reported today that Elon Musk is censoring anti-Trump posts or information on Twitter, or as I call it, XChan. But if Elon Musk is suppressing anti-Trump messaging on that platform, I suspect, and I've been saying it for weeks, if not months, that he is also engaging in what would be a false misinformation campaign that Trump actually has a large swath of support. We saw also a report in the last couple of weeks that they were using images from social media influencers in Europe, and they were manipulating them to look like they were Trump supporters and basically having sock accounts, troll accounts here that were basically fake accounts.
Sort of like a really crafty and appalling and repulsive amplification.
Yes, but a seditious amplification. And the reason why it's seditious, here's what I want to get to on the sedition, is because the President of the United States has signed protective orders for certain areas outlining where the hurricanes have hit, whether it be Helene or Milton or any other hurricane that's going to come to our shores. The President of the United States uses his executive power, which is granted to him by us, to protect those areas. And he signs a declaration of natural disaster. And what that does is it gives the ability of the federal government to deploy FEMA, whether it be money or equipment or meals, whatever that help of recovery and rescue. Right.
Yeah.
So those people, that property and those people are protected by that order that is signed by the president. If you go look up the word sedition, the legal definition of sedition, and maybe it should be considered to be changed a little bit. I don't believe what Elon Musk is doing on Twitter, and a lot of these accounts are doing on Twitter, is protected speech. And the reason why is because they're intentionally lying in the aim to win an election. And they're doing it against a protective order of the office of the President of the United States. Now, maybe I'm completely off. I am not a lawyer, so I don't know what kind of protection that declaration gives those people, but I know it grants them some sort of protected right to those FEMA funds or the ability to ask for those FEMA funds. And the FEMA is the federal government. So my view of it is that this is a tactic they have long participated in. They learned it from Vladimir Putin in 2016 and on up till now to just continue to lie. It's called a Gish Gallop, actually. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that term. It's called the Gish Gallop. They just lie and lie and lie and lie, so you have no way to counter, because by the time you get done countering the first lie, they've told 100 of them. So it's impossible to do that. So it's almost like we're living in a social media Gish Gallop on Twitter and other platforms too, but Twitter specifically. And if Elon Musk is helping Donald Trump suppress messages, he's helping amplify. And if his aim, and there is proof out there somewhere, I don't know, probably text messages to Donald Trump, phone calls, emails. I'm sure Elon does a lot of digital messaging. If there is aim to upend the Department of Justice, and there has been promises made from Donald Trump to Elon Musk about what the federal government will not do if Donald Trump becomes president, that could be sedition. And we should start saying that word over and over and over again.
I like it. It sounds good. Like I think like when you're talking about spreading misinformation on Twitter in the way that they have, that's no different fundamentally, it seems to me, than the robocalls that people would do to lie about election stuff. And
you mean
that's
like because there's the old robocalls that they would use where they'd lie, and then there's the new ones where they use the AI voice to confuse people.
Yeah, all of that shit is illegal. So why isn't this illegal? And I wonder if it's going to go further and get into the point where Congress is going to have to do something about whether the owners of these platforms are going to be responsible for the content on the platforms.
I think we should make them responsible. And I think more than anything, we should also make the content creators responsible as well. If you're creating, and because we know there is a federal indictment for 2 Russians from Russian Today, the Russian TV, the state TV.
Tenet Media.
Right. Tenet Media with David Rubin, Benny Johnson, which is probably the most overtly Russian asset out there on Twitter, but also Tim Pool. So not small voices when you talk about influence in the right wing.
But maybe they are small voices because we don't know how many of the accounts listening to them are real.
Well,
I don't know. It's
that's
very popular
another point.
in Minsk.
That is another quick point I'd like to make about the Twitter accounts, because I run into a lot of right-wing influencers on Twitter as I'm snooping around and finding these little things, these little nooks and crannies. And I'll tell you that there is definitely fake followings, meaning their followings aren't real. They're bought and paid for, or maybe they're bots. But I believe that Elon Musk is, because he has the easy way to manipulate and to make mass followings follow people without these people even knowing. They want, and really they're like, oh yeah, of course I'm following Benny Johnson. I follow everyone else like that. So why wouldn't I follow them? Why wouldn't I follow this person? And he has the ability to give people influence on Twitter just with the click of a button.
Yeah. And the opposite is also, I have observed. Now, I hate when people bitch about what's happening on Twitter, because of course the answer is just leave. But when Elon took over, I had a little over 200. I had just passed 200,000 followers.
Me as well.
Okay. And whoop, right away, it went down to like 192, 190. So
sons of bitches.
In 2 years, every day I have 50 new followers, but the number stays the same.
Stays the same. Me
never
as
goes
well.
up, even though I see the fucking followers. So what? Exactly the number that leaves and comes. It's such, it's
in some
really
kind of inverted universe where it's like you can just have John Cena follow you, and then it's like everybody's got that. Like it's like
yes, John Cena does follow me. He follows me. That's great.
I think he follows me too.
Yeah, he follows everyone on Twitter, I believe. It's actually a social media strategy that John Cena's team does, and a lot of people give John Cena.
Person I have blocked and I like to block, but I'm like, I'm just going to keep doing it until it's like, whatever he says he's going to get rid of the block. But okay, let's see. But I'm keeping blocking. I'm telling you, some of the worst accounts I blocked. I blocked every single one of them for the last 2 months. Has had only one follower, and that one follower is John Cena. So I don't know what's going on.
John Cena follows everyone on Twitter. It's a pretty good social media strategy if you want to build a huge following. Is just follow a ton of accounts, they'll follow you back,
and then follow them back, and he's got a lot that he's purchased, and he
right.
makes it look
exactly.
Exactly. I don't know.
Yoko Ono used to do that.
Who does? Okay, I wanted to ask you, Tony. I do want to move on to the.
Yeah, sure. Sorry, I didn't mean to get us off track.
In the same thing, no, because it's in the same. It's all in this wheelhouse of what is coming out of people's mouths, right?
Sure.
And what do we do about it? So this is a sort of like speech episode of the 5-8. So we were talking before the show, you and I and Greg, but also and you have this great phrase on the vein of like coming out with great phrasing, right? Of this cascading of messaging.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, as long as they say it, right. The Trumpers and all of that, as long as they're putting their thing out there,
right.
It's going to keep getting repeated. It's going to get carried. It's going to go. And then you can put more messages on top of that and just layer it all.
Right.
Now, a person, you and I are two of the people. I haven't it's just maybe you and I don't know. And I say this to Greg, he's like, I feel like in our production meeting, it was like, listen, I know there's a lot of reporting right now that Donald Trump is sounding like he's unhinged, he's crazy, he's decomposing, all this stuff. I perfectly understand what he's saying.
Yes, me
because
too.
I've studied those, and you're still in them thick and deep. I had to take a break from my brain. But I studied those right wing, especially the Nazis, right? Especially the eugenics folks and all of that sort of recruiting the Nazis that he was doing with Junior, Senior was doing as we were rolling into that first presidency that he had. And then continuing from the White House, all the signaling, all this stuff, we're constantly seeing the number 1488 coming out of the White House in official right? While they were simultaneously, oh, we don't know what that is. We're denying it all. Right. And it was like, come on. But I just think he's speaking to his people and they understand him perfectly. And it's causing that mind meld. It's a radicalization op that he is running. And we've got this in our next segment to get to. And so hopefully you stick with us for that segment. But to get there, I just want to hear what you have to say about this take on him that he's getting crazier and crazier.
Okay, so I say it a couple different ways. He's speaking QAnon. That's kind of an easy way to understand that he's speaking to the conspiracy theorist, right? Are the people who, consume these conspiracy theories. I also say it this way. He speaks fluent dumb fuck. That's another way of saying it. But I'll give you an example that the mainstream media and even I call them some of the boob tube shit libs missed it too. And the reason why is because they don't understand fundamentally who he's talking to. He thinks that people believe that he's talking to all of us, and he's not. He is not talking to all of us. He is only talking to the people who understand what he's saying. One of the things he kept calling Biden Obama. He would say that over and over and be like, oh, he's lost his mind. He doesn't know who the president is. No. He was speaking QAnon. What he was saying was Obama controls Biden. That's what he was saying. Yeah. And no one really understood that. And I pushed back on it on my show. I made fun of him because he would Obama. But because a lot of times he can't even get the words out. I mean, sometimes, when you're like me and you speak fluent dumb fuck, it doesn't come on, it doesn't always come out the exact way.
Parts. We're learning about that.
Exactly. Yeah. But really? Recently he said something the other day at a rally, and I forget what he was saying. But he was being racist. And a lot of people thought he wasn't being, a lot of people took it as something completely different. I'm like, no, this is a racist. The thing that he's saying is racist. White people hear this and are like, yeah, we know what you're talking about, wink and a nod, and I don't remember exactly offhand what it is, but every time I spot this, that the
Detroit comment.
I mean, there's so many. How are we supposed to keep track? Really? How are we supposed to keep track? Like if we did a montage of all the stupid stuff Donald Trump said. Yeah, right. If we did a montage of all the stupid stuff Donald Trump said, we'd be here for 18 hours. Like we just like,
we'd be here for 8 years.
That's true. That's true. That's true. Because if he breathes, he lies, right?
It's not evidence of his decomposition, which is what you and I are the ones that are going, no,
he's getting old. He's getting old. It's not dementia that is, and he probably is quite the loon, right? He's a maniac. But he's also a maniac who speaks fluent maniac. So,
it's like Clint Eastwood, and you guys are like Clint Eastwood and Firefox, where he's in the pilot and he has to be like thinking Russian.
Right, exactly. Yes,
thinking QAnon.
No, they're thinking in Russian too. They're thinking in Russian too. I mean, they are thinking in Russian too.
But I like this idea.
He gets the evidence of everything that they're sharing with one another in their face. He's still getting all of that from the platforms, and certainly getting a lot of it from Elon. So he's still getting the conversations of his followers, and they can invent their own conspiracy theory. He's going to know about it in a second because it gets put in front of him. That we know that this is how he runs his campaigns. I don't know why he would do this any differently. It really worked for him the first time.
Well, it is the Roy Cohen effect. It is the Roy Cohen effect.
All right, I'll talk about toilets, right? They're talking about this. All right. Yeah. So, and then they go, oh my God, he's going through what we're going through. He's saying, I was just thinking that, and he's saying it. It's like, yes, dummy, because you posted it on fucking Facebook. You know,
right? Well, let me ask you: have you guys ever went in the morning to a coffee shop, like a little small coffee shop, where all they got is coffee? They don't have fucking donuts or anything, just coffee in this place. And there's usually a table, right? And it's a round table, and there's a bunch of old dudes sitting at it, right? And even on the table, like there's a worn out ring where all the coffee cups are sitting every single day, right? The table's worn out, and they're sitting around telling, "Oh, my goddamn washer, that some bitch uses water, and I flush toilet 4 times to get a turd to go down," and this type of stuff they're talking about. He knows that. He knows that's the kind of stuff, and that's one thing, fortunately or unfortunately, that we have honestly before us is that he is an old man, and he is getting older and older every day, and it is showing, whether it be him barely being able to do the double jerk dick dance, or him be able to walk up on stage and stand there for 2 hours as he's sweating profusely. Today he came out and he looked like he'd rolled around in a pile of soot. Did you see this guy with the makeup? He needs to, I don't know if Melania teaches him how to blend or not, but he needs to learn how to blend and maybe he can't afford the makeup artist anymore, so he's got to do it himself. I'm not really sure what the hell's going on, but he looks like shit.
He does look like shit. I mean,
he does.
I want to go back. Can we go back to this phrase that you were saying before we came on the show and we were talking?
Cascading of messaging.
Cascading of messaging. Let people know it. Cascading of messaging.
So this is a not a unique thing. We don't really see it much, but it definitely happens. When I was a kid, I go to the lake and we throw rocks into the lake. Sometimes you skip them across the water, right? But the idea of cascading a messaging is to throw rocks into the pond. And when those rocks hit the pond, that message or those ripples will cascade out. Now they change, right? And they're never the same as they were when the rock hit the water. But they cascade out towards the shore. But the thing is, when you're watching those ripples cascade out towards the shore, you can always tell where those ripples originated from in the pond. You can tell, even if the ripples have faded, even the cascading is not visible anymore. You can really kind of tell by the size of them. And that's what I do every day. That's what you guys are doing, is you're cascading. You're putting messages out there, right? You're trying to drive a narrative. You're trying to drive a message. And so you're cascading. But the same goes for the right. And we can always trace back where these messages come from. And we were talking about one instance, and I believe it is a Good Liar video and it was just the other day, a woman standing waiting for a Trump Nazi rally, and she's standing behind, and she's in the sheep pen. I'm talking about, they got the sheep fences to keep the sheep in line to go into they're red hat sheep, so they got to keep them in the sheep pen. And he's asking her about the weather and the weather manipulation. And she's trying to Facebook explain it to him, right? She knows she's seen all these posts on Facebook. And she starts off by saying, yes, they manipulate the weather. And they always do it with, right, always they mean the Jews. It's always they. And she says cloud seeding. She gets that word out. She knows the words cloud seeding, right? And then that turns into, I believe she says, she doesn't say amplification. I think she says magnification. So I don't know if she's talking about magnetize or I'm not really sure. The vaccine it made you magnetic at some point. So I don't know if we're magnetizing or magnifying.
Yeah.
But she says magnifying, but it almost feels like she's saying magnetizing. But whatever. The storm gets bigger and bigger, and then it goes to an area and it wipes it out like a parking lot, I think she says. And then obviously, they want lithium, places to mine lithium. And the reason why they want places to mine lithium is because Kamala Harris's husband is Doug Emhoff, and he owns I don't know why he owns lithium mines. I'm not really sure. He's a Jew. I don't know why he owns lithium mines. She's talking about Jews, but she doesn't know she's talking about Jews. And that's the point, right? So she gets all these little ripples from this cascaded message that has been tossed into the pond that, yes, it is the Jews that are controlling the weather. That's
Taylor Green and
right.
the whole thing.
Exactly. Yeah. They, like you said. So that's the message that has been tossed into the pond. And all those little ripples, the seeding, the cloud seeding, the lithium mine, the Doug Emhoff, she catches all those little ripples, but it all goes back to that one rock that is tossed into the pond, the anti-Semitic rock, as it were.
And Trump is the weaver, weaving all of these
Well,
things
I actually don't believe that. I actually don't believe that. I believe that Trump is on the shore watching these things happen, and he is interpreting these things that are happening.
He calls himself the weaver because he's doing what she did.
Right.
He's circling and coming up this thing here and this cascading and this ripple here. He's doing the exact same thing.
Excuse me. He doesn't call himself a weaver.
And he's calling it weaving.
No. An English professors told him he was a weaver.
Oh, that's right.
Sir,
who wrote a paper.
Excuse me, sir, you're a weaver. You're a weaver, sir. They said, sir, you're a weaver. Is that how he says it?
Yeah, like that.
We have to get that right. Sure. And the thing is, this woman is they're legitimately think that Democrats could control the weather. Okay, Trump, Vance, and Musk are on a stage in an open field in Butler, Pennsylvania. If we could control the weather, we would at least make it rain there.
Yeah.
Right?
There's fucking tornadoes coming down like a Marvel comic in Florida, and they have a sunshiny day, but the Democrats.
But right. That's the other thing too is, Joe, everyone knows this, and if you're in the Democratic Party and you're paid by George Soros, which is also anti-Semitic, language, it's cascading message to Jews. But here's the thing. Everyone knows that Joe Biden has a machine. It's called the Stormomatic 5000. Okay. Now it is in that separate room in the Oval Office. On the desk, he has the gasoline price button. He also has the egg and the milk price button on the desk. But in the other room is the Stormomatic 5000. And he just doesn't have the guts to make sure that the hurricane goes over Mar-a-Lago and stays there for, 3 or 4 days until it is a parking lot. That way we can mine the lithium so Doug Emhoff can have it all. I don't know what the hell she's talking about.
But this is when the other thing is, I don't know if this particular phenomena that we're living in right now, this propaganda phenomenon, how it's manifested itself and been manipulated and worked into existence, would sound and look like this if it weren't for these platforms. If the sheep lady, MAGA sheep lady in the pin didn't have access, wasn't on Facebook, I don't know that she would be in the pen.
So that's a good point. Now back to speech. Because
it's all fractured because it's like these things fracture our attention. It's like reading a Twitter feed.
Yeah, it is a Gish Gallop. It's a Gish Gallop. Yeah.
It's a Gish Gallop.
So back to that real quick. Another phrase that I like to use on speech is that it's not that we don't have the freedom of speech. It's that we have too much speech. Okay. We have way too much speech. There's so much speech that no human being can ever consume the amount of speech that is out there now. You cannot. It would be impossible. And then that is our real problem, is we have too much speech. And we are inundated with speech. And a lot of it is the wrong speech. But, that's my opinion.
That's your speech.
I liked it. I think it was funny that it was silent there for a minute. I thought that was a nice
no touch. Speech there for a second after I talked about freedom of speech.
Yeah. Okay, so it's top of the hour, so we got to go to topic number 4.
Okay, great.
Which you're going to enjoy because it's about Nazis and
everyone knows I love Nazis. I guess I don't know. So, I love the bash the fash for sure.
Yeah. I know. So I'll set this up, and LB, why don't you hit the timer?
The timer.
Yeah, we're going into the next thing.
Now you can't put a timer on Tony Michaels. You
get a whole block of no time. But now we time it. We
time it. Now we time it.
Good.
Now we time it. Okay, so
I always forget though.
what's happening now is that we're trying to see this thing in a different way. So David Korn over at Mother Jones had this I guess this semantic where he said something like, this isn't like what was it, LB? What did he say?
It's not, Trump isn't running a campaign. He's running an information op.
Yeah.
Or misinformation or disinformation. And I took that and took it to the next level. It's like, no, he's running a radicalization op.
Right.
He's radicalizing these people. We're getting to a point, and then someone else had a wonderful thread getting into the history of why Trump we're going to see in the next couple of weeks, he's choosing very specific locations for the American Nazi movement to have rallies. And he's doing them in big venues. He normally doesn't spend this kind of money. He cannot win these states. He knows he can't win these states. So everyone's like, why is he spending his money there? And he has limited time. Why is he spending his time there? One of the locations being Madison Square Garden, the other in California. And this person came out and brought to bear and brought back for everybody to like look at it again. You know, you guys have to understand this was the site of the biggest American Nazi rally in American history. And
February 20th, 1939, to be exact.
1939. So to get in Madison Square Garden, and there was a documentary done about it not too long ago. We won't get into that because we were talking about earlier. I've written a lot about it. The Friends of New Germany, and that which became then the German American Bund, was a very big, prolific organization and a fifth column of German action in the United States pre-war.
And its goal was isolationism.
Its goal was isolationism and to keep America sort of, stay out of Europe.
Just keep them happy.
Stay out of Europe, but also proliferating the ideas. It started in the United States in 1920. And one of the groups that the German American Bund, I think when they were still with Friends of New York, recruited into the sort of like kind of wanted to learn their tactics, learn about America. We had an American Führer who was German. The movement was speaking to German Americans. So immigrants from Germany for that First World War that were over here and stirring up sentiment with them as well to try to also keep the immigrant communities fractured and isolate them within themselves, and then have everything be all about Americanism as well, and that we could have this sort of Nazi stuff in America. So you had the Nazi flags at Madison Square Garden with big posters right next to them, woven in with them, big flags of George Washington, and it was this sort of using George Washington as a way to have this rally. It wasn't going to be protected speech otherwise, Tony, because the people who were moving against are my gangsters that I, written a lot about and studied a lot about, that were working the political angles and the relationships that they had to stop this Nazi movement in the United States. They were the bulwark. So it was Meyer. It was it was I can't remember his name. I'm so sorry, everybody. But the guy with the A, right? So all these gangsters, mostly in New Jersey and in New York, stopping this whole thing. So that's your little history piece, everybody. Just know that in that backdrop of that history that we have and that shame that we have that then got so buried because nobody wanted to deal with it or talk about how big this Nazi movement was in America pre-World War II, before we entered the war, and how effective all that propaganda was coming out of Germany and being sourced through the American Führer here, this guy named Friedrich, is that the person who knows all about that, lo and behold, is Donald Trump. So why is he going to Madison Square Garden and holding a rally there right before the election? It's not time for him. There's no time to do this in a blue state to convert enough votes for him to take any territory that's going to be meaningful for his election. It's not even going to be meaningful for any kind of down ballot candidates that he might want to, his buddies he might, or people or his sycophants that he has blackmail on. Why is he doing this? So someone brought up that rally and it's like, look, this is because of the site of this. He is going to make a second gathering there. He's going to pull the Nazis in. It's true. They will show up for him. It's going to be a sight to behold. People are going to freak out if this goes forward in Madison Square Garden. But why? Why?
Can I answer the question? Can I answer the question?
Please give me the answer. I got my answer.
So in 1933, Hitler was appointed Chancellor of Germany. And in the phrase of the slow cooking of the frog, it took until 1939, just after the event that you're talking about at Madison Square Garden in February. It took that long for Adolf Hitler to give his famous speech where he would talk about exterminating the Jewish people. And that was in 1939, when Adolf Hitler finally was very overt about what his mission was and what seemed to be the final solution was coming in the 40s, which the Madison Square Garden, and they called it an American rally is what they called it. They cloaked the entirety of this fascist rally in patriotic drapery, right? They had
it was a super PAC,
right? This thin veil of patriotism, right? Because they needed to show that they were Americans first, right? And the reason why they were Americans first is because they definitely did not want the American government and the American military to go fight Hitler in Germany. So they wanted everyone to remain here, including the military. But there is some more insidious things that I think is the reason why Donald Trump is doing not just the Nazi imagery or thin veiling patriotism over the Nazi imagery. I believe he is setting up the reason why he definitely won, and there's no way that he lost. The Madison Square Garden holds 19,500 people. I think if Google is right, it looks like that's the case.
It depends on the event. It depends on the event.
He won't fill a third of that 19,000 in New York. But he's going to say he sold out. That's the word he's going to use. Sold out.
You're right.
Sold out. So he's going to say, and he's going to stand on stage. And I think it's October 27th, if I'm correct. It's a Sunday. Yeah. Is it a Sunday? And he's going to stand on stage and he's going to bombastically say, we sold out Madison Square Garden. It's the thing. There's no way she could do this. If she can't do this and I could do this, I must be president. He's going to say language like that. And it's the same. And he's going to say, he's going to almost copycat the speech that was given on the stage at Madison Square Garden, which is a different building now. But the building then that they stood on stage, and the words are like, it goes something like, the media would tell you that I have horns growing out of my head and a tail growing out of my ass, right? And basically the media is going to tell you I'm the devil. And they all laughed. Ha 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 ha. It was so funny. It was almost like it was a Trump routine in 1939. But the aim for that rally wasn't to just gather up all the Nazis in one area. It was to show the country that the Nazis in America were patriots. They loved America and they had America's interest. It wasn't about Hitler. It wasn't about the war. It was about America. I mean, and the words were, if George Washington were alive, he would be best friends with Hitler. And this was all an aim in misinformation. This was all in an aim to brainwash Americans that no, Nazis good, Nazis patriots, right? That's what it was the aim. Donald Trump's aim here is to brainwash, is to say after he loses the election in November, and I would guess that it's going to be probably about the first week of December, that Donald Trump is going to start saying this, if not before. But he's going to start saying, you're going to hear it in the media, you're going to hear him say it out loud. Everyone's going to go, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. No way, because he filled up a third of Madison Square Garden, does it mean he should have won. But his cult is going to believe that he sold out Madison Square Garden, and there was 500,000 people outside. And Kamala could never sell out Madison, which Madison Square Garden holds 20,000. She certainly could fill Madison Square Garden easily. She could fill Madison Square Garden. But he's going to say she can't, and he did, and that's why he won. And there's no way she won New York. Yeah. There's no way she won New York because he filled Madison Square Garden. And the reason why he can say that to a bunch of these trailer park MAGA is because they have no idea that Madison Square Garden only holds 20,000. They've heard forever that rock bands, Billy Joel, comedians, when they sell out Madison Square Garden, that's the pinnacle, that's the peak, that's the top of your career. So there's no way if he sold out Madison Square Garden that he lost New York, and he's definitely going to lose New York City. No way is he going to win New York City, but he's definitely going to lose New York. And the same goes with California's little event in California. All this is a setup. It's the mail-in ballot thing that he did in 2020. It's just
I don't disagree with you, and I think it's a brilliant point.
Mm-hmm.
I also think he's going for violence.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, there could be that too.
I think he's going for. He's getting people. It's a whipping up of the violence. So
it's definitely a signal to the people who want to be violent, for sure.
Exactly.
There might be violence at the event, even.
Well, I'm not gonna say that MAGA on MAGA violence is.
No, I think people will show up.
You would really be the Rush Limbaugh of the last.
I am not going to say that we should stand in the way of a Nazi punching a Nazi. I don't know that we should stand in that arena.
By the way, Madison Square Garden
is
too small a venue for Taylor Swift. Just FYI.
Taylor Swift never play at Madison Square Garden.
Too small.
Right.
I think what we need to start getting out there. There's our timer. I paused it because I wanted Tony to get through all that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No.
I'm windy.
I was long-winded in the front part. So, I think we have to start getting that out there. Again, here's a great way to break through the noise of like, it only holds 20,000 people. Like, it's a storied place because it's a beloved venue, not because it means anything other than that. It doesn't mean you've got a big crowd size.
Right.
You know,
because Madison Square Garden at one point was a large venue, but it is no longer that large anymore in comparison. Right.
Yeah.
They call it the Mecca, and I don't think that's going to work with his people.
He did ask to sign the rabbi's prayer book. Do you want me to sign this? Would you like me to sign this? And he said it really quiet, which that means that Donald Trump didn't want anyone to hear, so that later on when he was on stage, you could say, the rabbi wanted my autograph. He had me sign his prayer book. It's all a setup. Everything is always seeding. It's always a setup for him.
Speaking of seeding and violence, just one more
Go ahead.
point. Today, he was talking about Aurora and what he would do there.
Oh, my God.
And he's talked about the 1798 Alien Enemies Act and how he was going to use that to have ICE and the Border Patrol and federal agents swoop down and round people up and all this stuff. And this is very Hitlerian because everything Hitler did was legal. Hitler was given great powers in they called it the Enabling Act, which is kind of,
It's kind of funny. It came after he was appointed chancellor too, isn't it? After that 1933 appointment.
So this is all to your point, LB. It's coming. He's.
Well, did you guys hear Stephen Miller's little tirade about brown people?
You have to be more specific.
Oh my God! So he got on stage and he did his best Goebbels impersonation.
Yeah.
He's been practicing it, apparently, Stephen Miller. And he was asking the crowd, are these the people in your neighborhood that you grew up with? Are these the people? Kamala Harris sent these people here. And when Donald Trump becomes the president, he's going to immediately send them back. Now, I want people.
God. This is so awful. I know we're doing our show. I just think we have to stop. Everyone's like, that's horrendous. This is awful. We cannot allow this to continue. And frankly, it should be front page, above the fold news on the Chiron 24/7. This attack on human beings. I can't stand it anymore. I can't stand it.
I want to, because it is some of the worst language that they use. And the reason why it's the worst language is because they literally are hearkening to a time where there was genocide of 6 million people.
2025 right around the corner.
Right. Well, and here's the thing.
We are a quarter of a century into a different millennium.
Yep.
And we can't call this shit out for what it is.
Well, we should, and a lot of us are, and a lot of people won't go as far as me, because what they do and what they've done is they said 11 million people, and then it's 20 million, and 30 million, and 40 million, and 50 million.
It's 25 million now. That's 1 in 13 people in the
Right.
entire United States.
It will be up to 100 million. Here's why it will be up to 100 million before we get to November 5th. And the reason why is because it is likely that there will be 80 to 100 million people who will vote for Kamala Harris. And that's the number they're looking for, folks. It is impossible. It is impossible to deport and denaturalize 100 million people. That is not what they will do. What they will do is they will round up as many closest to that 100 million number that they can get to, whether it be 6, 10, 20, 25, 30, 40, and they will genocide.
Yeah.
Because they cannot deport that many people. They cannot denaturalize that many people. They cannot contain and encamp that many people. They can't hold them in staging areas. It is impossible to do that. And what ends up happening is they find the easiest way. In 1940s Germany, it was the final solution. That's literally the trouble they had in the concentration camps. Is the reason why they were like, well, we'll just kill them in mass.
This even that it was written down that there are people who worked for him and continue to work for him that are out there saying it out loud.
Mm-hmm.
I don't give a fuck if he distanced himself from it or not. That doesn't matter. It has nothing to do with anything. The words that come, the denial has nothing to do with reality. It's a week. I really can't go on with this topic tonight because I'm going to lose it. I told everybody I was at a breaking point today. I am. But this cannot be allowed to be dismissed or be denied.
Mm-hmm.
The smoke screen being built around this shit so that it's not talked about because it's too hard. What? It's too hard for CNN to talk about this with any meaning. You have to have the same pundits on, all having their cross conversations with one another. Like this is what CNN is. This is what it's like. And then you're on to the next program. And then it's this, right? It's this thing. And then it's the next program.
Well, they also cut to Anderson
talk
Cooper
about a fucking smoke screen. So I can't. I know we have our followers are so invested in standing up to fascism and the creep of it, and now the full throttledness of it. But I don't know what else we can do. I think.
Can I tell you what you can do? Can I tell your audience what they can do? They can check. They can check their registration. And
your registration.
And make a plan to vote. And not only make a plan to vote, find 3 people, just 3. I know that doesn't seem like a lot, but it is a lot. And let me tell you why. Because if you find those 3 to check their registration and make their plan to vote, they don't even have to be in the same state as you. Now they'll have a little different rules and how they can access the ballot because each state's a little different. But find those 3 people and make sure they're going to make a plan to vote and make sure they find 3 more people. Because what we really have to do, because we win in democracy with ballots, not bullets. And if we do our job to engage in democracy and using our strategic outrage, the outrage that you have, if you bottle it up and you really aim it directly at the thing that democracies do best, which is smash the fash at the ballot. And that's what we have to do. We have to pile them underneath mountain ranges of votes. On election night, North Carolina is going to come quick, right? It's usually one of the first ones. It is probably going to be one of the biggest reliefs that this country has ever had when those results start to come in from North Carolina. And the reason why is because in 2020, it was the smallest margin that Joe Biden lost by. It was less than 75,000, just under 75,000. Donald Trump has a real problem in North Carolina. It's like a porn black Nazi problem in Mark Robinson. He also has a few more problems, but that's his big main one. When Donald Trump, not only when the results from
call him Donald Sr.
Yeah, Donald okay. Donald Sr. When he wins, or excuse me, when those results start to drop and it is clear that he is going to lose North Carolina, those exit polls are going to come behind. And those exit polls are going to start to tell a story of Pennsylvania. It's going to start to tell a story of the Rust Belt in Ohio. I believe that so goes Minnesota, so goes Wisconsin, so go Iowa. I believe with Tim Walz on that campaign that it is possible that Kamala Harris will win Iowa. It is they are outside their minds with some of these maps to think that Donald Trump is going to win Nevada and Arizona. That's crazy talk. It's crazy talk. All his cheating attempts in Georgia have all fell apart. Almost all this fake elector and election, denial and not to certify is all falling apart. Brian Kemp and Brad Raffensperger said, we're certifying the vote. We don't give a damn what they want. We're going to do it. It is our fucking duty. And that's what we're going to do. She is making plays in Florida. I don't know if she'll win Florida, but she's making a play for it, making him spend money there. And he's spending money in New York City and California on stupid Nazi rallies. So when election day comes, if we do our job that democracies are supposed to do, and we get out and we get to that poll and we cast our ballot, not just at the top of the ticket, but all the way down, because MAGA must be defeated anywhere we can defeat them. And when we do that on election night and we finally get the good news, it's not over, because he's not going to concede, just like slink away. But we can have some relief from the pressure that you are feeling. So that is what we do. That is the answer, is participate and engage in our democracy.
Amen. Amen.
Mm-hmm. That's what I do.
Thank you for that, Tony.
Rush Limbaugh would never say that kind of shit, though, by the way. That's because he's on the right and I'm on the left.
I think we should let that name go the way that the man did. Find a new term. Maybe. Yeah. And there's no reason to conjure that up. This really no more.
So what's your last topic? I hear there's a movie out.
No,
I don't mean.
Well, we got an announcement.
We got
our announcements right now.
Oh,
do you have anything that you want to announce? Anything happening?
Oh, well, yeah. So there's this election coming up November 5th, and you should come listen to a guy who yells and screams to a microphone every single weekday, Monday through Friday, about it for 2 full hours. That's right. I do a show for 2 hours every single day, and it's noon Eastern every single day on YouTube. And you can find me, if you're here on YouTube, you can find me, just type in Tony Michaels podcast. You can Google it, or you can go to theTonyMichaels.com. That's theTonyMichaels.com. You can find me everywhere.
Wonderful.
That's the only thing I got.
Okay. That's a good one.
Yeah.
All right. We have an announcement.
Oh, right. Oh, wait, I have to get, I'm so lost.
It comes with our special graphics.
Yeah, we have the special graphics. So here we go. It's a special graphic.
Oh, our voices are still calling.
I guess they work. See, we're learning this all the time.
I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, if there's no sound on the video, then our voices will keep going.
See, this is why I like to go on
event. Okay, we can play it again. We can play it again.
Let's play it again and pretend that we know what we're doing.
We can talk over it.
Okay, here we go. Yeah, we're doing a live event.
It's our live event, November 10th. After the election, we're going to celebrate together at KGB in New York City. It is me. It is Greg Olear. We don't know who our guests are yet, but maybe it's just us. No, we'll have wonderful guests. It'll be a great time. Good drinks, good time. Come in person and spend the night with us. And that next day, the 11th, is, I don't know, it's some holiday. So
Veterans Day is what it is.
It's Veterans Day.
Okay. It's actually Armistice Day, which is the day that the First World War ended.
Great.
The
11th,
11th month, 11th day, 11th hour.
We can party, you can sleep in, but mostly we just want to be together.
Yeah.
So
that's it.
What we're doing.
That's what we're doing. Okay. Now, do you want to hang around, Tony, for our little game and then the last topic, or you got to go?
I got a little bit. How much time you got left?
I don't know.
Oh.
We'll get through this.
With me, it'll take another hour. So you know what? I'm going to let you guys play the game. I've had go ahead.
We're doing it in 8 minutes.
Okay, I'll keep.
Right, here we go.
Okay, but the game. Okay, here's the game. Okay, we last week, and I think I told you this when I was on your show. We played a little game called
At Least Epstein.
At Least Epstein. We were talking about Donald Trump. At least Epstein, and then we rattled off reasons why. Donald Trump looks next to Epstein even worse, right?
Oh my God.
We're doing it a little bit different today. We're doing about Brett Kavanaugh this week because Brett Kavanaugh is back in the news. LB and I, years ago, one of our first projects that we collaborated on was a 5-part series about Brett Kavanaugh and all the shady shit that this motherfucker was up to. Back during the whole 2018 confirmation and all this kind of stuff. So Brett Kavanaugh now has come out again, all these tips that came in and the FBI did nothing. Everything was scuttled. It's all awful. Okay. And the guy's in there. He got in there. He shouldn't have gotten in there because he is, what was the term, LB, that we used, that we saw?
He's owned.
He's owned, but somebody wrote a phrase that he and Clarence Thomas are moral reprobates.
Oh, moral reprobates. So that's
they are.
One of our
that's a good one. Yeah.
Anyway, okay, so we're gonna play this game.
A reprobate. Yeah. So
we've at least Epstein, and this is about Kavanaugh. So we've each have 5 of them. So we're gonna alternate. So LB, you go first.
At least Epstein paid off his own mortgage.
Oh, goddamn.
Okay. At least Epstein was pro-choice. Supported women's right to choose. He did. Yep.
At least Epstein didn't marry his beard. Oh, okay.
Oh, shit.
Again, we're talking about Kavanaugh here. At least Epstein.
We might have to remind people of some Kavanaugh things. So, I have a couple.
At least Epstein didn't have to share a baseball season ticket package.
Yeah, he didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, do I do another? They're so bad.
No, bad is good.
So bad.
No, I like the bad. Go ahead.
No, I can't do this one.
Okay.
All right, I can because it's Kavanaugh. We're really talking about Kavanaugh. At least Epstein didn't need alcohol to touch a woman.
That's yours are so much better than
mine. Are really mean.
Ouch.
Okay. Mm-hmm. At least Epstein wasn't on Judge Kaczynski's mailing list.
Yeah. How many do we have left?
That's number 3. So you have this is number. You're doing number 4, top of the 4th right now.
Okay. Well. My last one. I'll say my last one needs a little explanation, but anyway. So at least Epstein knew how to save his money.
Ooh, he did. He
did. To live within his means. He knew to live within his means.
He did.
He did.
Okay. At least Epstein isn't friends with Mark Judge. That was it.
Oh,
friends with Mark Judge. That's a scummy guy. Okay.
That is a scummy guy. Okay. So listen, as we were prepping for this,
wait, I got one more.
I thought we were doing one more each.
No, there's one more. We got 5 now. You have another one or no?
I have. I thought I was only on 4. Okay, I have my 5. You go your 5 first, and I'll go my 5.
Okay. At least, again, we're talking about Kavanaugh. At least Epstein didn't produce a lot more money that he could possibly have to procure a house he couldn't possibly afford. No, actually, never mind. Scratch that one. Actually, that's exactly what Epstein did.
That's exactly what Epstein
have that
did.
In common. Sorry.
Okay.
My bad.
They're the same guy, maybe. All right. So mine is like my last one. I was looking. I wanted to get some. I was like, I can't know what are some other things about Kavanaugh, and I went and I looked on the Wikipedia and I was looking through his cases, and Kavanaugh was on the side of SeaWorld against orcas. Because, of course he was. Because it was about sort of regulators coming in or whatever. He's like, no one can tell SeaWorld what they're going to do with their orcas. When we were in that huge scandal, right? So at least Epstein wasn't afraid to free Willie.
I don't have 5, but I got 1. Can I just do one?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Now my audience is here in the chat, so I'm sure I'm safe with this with them. At least Epstein. Now I'm not sure, about this. I'm just kind of making stuff up, but at least Epstein didn't butt chug. That's all I'm gonna.
Oh, all right.
That's a perfect
night.
That's a perfect one to end on.
That's a perfect one.
I just had the 1. I didn't have 5. I just had 1. Just the 1.
I think that was
and
worth.
You came in. You didn't even know this game was going to be played. So
no, I did not.
Mm-hmm. We appreciate it.
So real quick,
we're
gonna go to The Apprentice now.
Okay,
which I saw
2 minutes
last night. Okay, so just a couple notes on it. I don't want to spoil it for people. So first of all, it's a really good movie. Like as a movie, as a piece of cinema, it was really good. It's not like a polemical thing where they're trying to get points in. It's not like a weird documentary that's stilted in one way. It is a biopic, and it's about the story of the relationship between Donald Trump from a young age and Roy Cohn, who is his mentor, his father figure, and teaches him everything he knows. It's one of those movies where Donald Trump, played by Sebastian Stan, in one of the best acting performances I think I've ever seen, given how hard it is to play Trump, because he's been played by so many people. People do the voice and to give him humanity and make him even a little bit sympathetic in the first part of the movie is an astonishing work of acting, I thought. It's one of those movies where Trump is in every scene. So every single thing that happens is through his lens. And what we learn going through is that everything is lifted from Roy Cohn. Everything is lifted. All the things, his attitude towards things, his rules of engagement, everything. There's even a scene in the movie where Roy Cohn is in this tanning machine and he's looking very, very orange, right? And nobody says anything, but you're like, oh, he even took that fucking thing from Roy Cohn. Everything from Roy Cohn. I think now Putin has replaced Roy Cohn, by the way. That's my theory. But so they don't talk about the mob. They don't talk about the Russians. But what they do talk about, and again, anybody that wants to, I don't want to spoil the movie. So hit mute for a second and I'll go like this when I'm done with this part. Okay. What they do show is the rape. They show him raping Ivana. And I almost, I couldn't fall out of my chair because it was a recliner, but I was like, holy shit, I can't believe they showed that.
So for people, I know our audience knows this, but in case this is watched by people who are new, Ivana in her divorce with Donald put it on the record and testified under oath that he raped her in the course of their marriage. And this is also what catapulted Michael Cohen, fast forward all those years later, into sort of he became a known entity because he was taped threatening the journalists who were reporting on that. And this is when he was still working for Donald, threatening them, really violently threatening them, that if they took that, because saying a husband cannot, by definition, cannot rape a wife.
Yeah.
Just so everybody knows that's it. So
so we're putting it to bed now. So I'm going to go like this so people can now unmute. Okay.
Yeah.
Again, and I watched it thinking, how would MAGA approach this movie? Is it going to, and I think people think that it's going to be like, it's not like the Kavanaugh documentary that has been squashed by Netflix.
Yeah.
It's not the Jim Jordan documentary. Apparently we're never going to see. This is it's a movie. It's an art. It looks fantastic, but I don't know, like, if I'm MAGA going in, the main thing is he certainly comes off like a dick, and he certainly comes off like an asshole and somebody who betrayed the people that he loved and that he looked up to and just wound up choosing cruelty and himself. But I don't know that.
Yeah,
they like that. So I think the thing that Trump is not going to like is how they show plastic surgery. I think probably that's the thing he hates more than anything, because it embarrasses his vanity.
Do they show how they did the hair flaps?
They do.
They
show it.
And the liposuction.
It's amazing. Okay. And the guy that made the movie, he's an Iranian Danish filmmaker. His name is Ali Abbasi. And I think that's interesting too, because it's not an American filmmaker. So I think the take on it is slightly different, which is good, because I felt like I got something out of it looking at it through somebody else's eyes, because I'm so deep into this fucking guy. I'm so sick of him. there was moments, especially at the beginning, that I forgot that it was a movie about Trump.
Yeah.
Like I was like watching this, and it's about these people and this up and coming guy. And there's even parts of it where Trump is trying, says that his mission is to renovate and resurrect New York City. And I'm like, yeah, good. And, kind of, that's something MAGA will like from the movie. So I don't think I don't think they have anything to fear by it, but it certainly doesn't make him look good. And that one scene, which I will not mention again, it's astonishing that it was in the movie. So I
wonder he's talking about that.
Yeah, I thought it was a really, really good movie. I'm curious what other people think about it. I'm going to write about it, I think, on Sunday and flesh out my thoughts. But that's it. So that's Tony, you must see this. It's
I'm going to go watch it. I was a little leery, as I told you before we came on, that I wasn't impressed by the trailer. I was like, I'm not so impressed. But now that you've said some of these things, it has me wanting to watch it. So
it's a New York movie. Like, I lived in New York for 10 years. I love like New York shit. And you see the New York of the early 80s and all this stuff. And
they do a good job of setting the scene.
Oh, it looks amazing. It actually probably looks better than what it really was.
What it really was.
Like, I think
no garbage all over the streets. Remember, we had the garbage.
No, they show all of that. They do.
42nd
Street is Hookerville. I mean, it was horrible at the time.
Yeah.
So they show all that. It's and throughout the movie, there's little things that they, the first thing you see is Nixon's "I'm not a crook" speech, which is just like,
oh yeah, that's great.
And at one point, Roy Cohn says, he's talking about the Rosenbergs, who he was the prosecutor that got them to the chair. And he says, and I think it's a close shot of his face, he's like, they betrayed America. They're traitors, and that's why they had to die. And I'm just like,
oh man,
that's it, motherfucker.
Yeah,
you got it. I agree with you, Roy Cohn.
Yeah, for some reason I like Roy in that moment.
Yeah. So there was a subtext there that is unmissable, but it's not. I don't know. I just thought it was a really good piece of filmmaking. So, yeah.
Well, I'm excited to see it now.
Yeah, good. I'm glad.
All right, maybe we should take people to vote and take people to go see the.
That's it. There you go.
So again, Tony Michaels, thank you so much for joining us. Always a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
Everybody, thanks for watching. Please hit the like button, the subscribe button. Join us. It's cheap. We make it affordable for everybody. We do a lot of fun things. We're doing our show in New York City, and I know this has been a brutal week. This has been a hard week in many ways. But LB, what do you have to say about that?
Well, I'm just glad Tony was on the show today, because in the middle of the show, he reminded me of our own mantra, which is, we're gonna get through it.